December 14, 2019. Joe Burrow's Heisman acceptance speech moved a nation and sparked over $450,000 in donations to food banks in his hometown.
For LSU and Ohio State, playing at two of the best programs in the country, great coaches both places. Is my journey, I wouldn't have traded it for.
But the speech was just one moment in an impossible journey. From overlooked high school quarterback to backup at Ohio State, to transferring to LSU, to the greatest season in college football history, to leading the Cincinnati Bengals to a Super Bowl appearance. This is the story of Joe Burrow's rise. Chapter 1. The Athens Kid. Athens, Ohio. Population 25,000. Tucked away in the Appalachian foothills of southeast Ohio, it's the kind of place that rarely produces NFL quarterbacks. But Joe Burrow wasn't just any kid from Athens. Born in Ames, Iowa in 1996 while his father Jimmy was coaching at Iowa State, Joe grew up in a football family. His dad was a defensive coordinator. His two older brothers played at Nebraska. Football wasn't just a sport, it was the family business. When Jimmy Burrow took a job at Ohio University in Athens, the family settled in southeast Ohio. Joe grew up going to practices, studying film, understanding the game at a level most kids his age couldn't comprehend. At Athens High School, Burrow was special. He passed for over 11,400 yards and 157 touchdowns in his high school career. He added another 2,000 yards and 27 touchdowns on the ground. As a senior in 2014, he was named Ohio Mr. Football and led Athens to the Division III state championship game. But despite the accolades, major programs weren't knocking down his door. He was a four-star recruit, ranked as the 8th best dual-threat quarterback in his class. Good, but not elite. Western Michigan was his first college offer, followed by Cincinnati, West Virginia, and Central Michigan. One recruiting analyst remembers getting a direct message from a young Joe Burrow during high school. "Hey, could you give me a call?" Burrow wrote. "I'm trying to get more exposure." Even then, Burrow knew he had to work for everything. Eventually, the Big Ten schools took notice. Thanks largely to offensive coordinator Tom Herman's belief in him, Urban Meyer offered Burrow a scholarship to Ohio State. On May 27, 2014, Joe Burrow committed to play for the Buckeyes, his dream school, playing at home. Chapter 2. The Backup Years. Arriving at Ohio State in 2015, Burrow entered one of college football's most pressure-packed quarterback competitions. This was Ohio State, national championship expectations every single year. 2015, redshirt year. Burrow watched, learned, and waited. 2016 to 2017, backup to J.T. Barrett. Over 2 seasons, Burrow played in just 10 games, completing 29 of 39 passes for 287 yards and 2 touchdowns. Garbage time minutes, mop-up duty, nothing that suggested greatness. Then came the spring of 2018. Ohio State's starting quarterback position was wide open. Burrow competed against Dwayne Haskins and Tate Martell. In the spring game, Burrow completed 15 of 22 passes for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns. He looked good. He looked ready. "I didn't come here to sit on the bench for 4 years," Burrow told reporters after the game. "I know I'm a pretty good quarterback. I want to play somewhere." But Urban Meyer chose Dwayne Haskins, the more physically gifted passer, the bigger arm, the hometown kid from Maryland. It was a reasonable decision. Haskins would go on to throw for 50 touchdowns that season and become a first-round NFL draft pick. For Joe Burrow, it was devastating. 3 years of waiting, one last chance to start, and it slipped away. He had a decision to make: stay at Ohio State and be a backup again, or leave and bet on himself somewhere else. LSU came calling. Safeties coach Bill Bush, who had been on staff at Ohio State when Burrow arrived, told head coach Ed Orgeron, "Coach, if we get Joe Burrow, we're going to be in the college football playoff." On May 18, 2018, Joe Burrow announced he was transferring to LSU. He was leaving home, leaving his dream school, leaving everything familiar. But he was finally going to play. Chapter 3: Finding His Footing at LSU. Baton Rouge was a culture shock. Instead of the Midwest, Burrow was in the heart of the Deep South. Instead of Ohio State's pro-style offense, LSU ran a conservative, run-heavy attack that hadn't produced many NFL quarterbacks. The 2018 season was a learning year. Burrow won the starting job and showed flashes, but the offense was limited. He completed just 57.8% of his passes for 2,894 yards and 16 touchdowns. LSU went 10-3, finishing with a Fiesta Bowl win over UCF, where Burrow showed his toughness, getting lit up on a brutal hit, then coming back to lead LSU to victory. But something was brewing. LSU hired Joe Brady as passing game coordinator, bringing a modern, spread offense. Burrow spent the offseason working obsessively with his receivers, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall Jr. They threw thousands of passes, building chemistry, perfecting routes. At the Manning Passing Academy in June 2019, Burrow sat under a tan sun hat and made a prediction. "I think we're going to score a lot of points." It was the understatement of the century. Chapter 4: The Historic 2019 Season. Week 1, Georgia Southern, LSU 55, Georgia Southern 3. Burrow threw for 278 yards and 5 touchdowns. It was a statement, but nobody knew what was coming. Week 2, at 9th-ranked Texas in Austin. The stage, the lights, the test. Burrow threw for 471 yards and 4 touchdowns in a 45-38 win. The second most yards in LSU history. Suddenly, people were paying attention. Week 3, Vanderbilt. Burrow threw for 398 yards and 6 touchdowns, breaking the school record for touchdown passes in a game. 3 games in, 3 straight performances over 350 yards. This had never happened at LSU. The onslaught continued. Florida, 293 yards, 3 touchdowns in a road win over the 7th-ranked Gators. By week 7 against Mississippi State, Burrow had broken LSU's single-season touchdown record in just 7 games. November 9, 2019, the game. Number 2 LSU at number 3 Alabama, the biggest regular season game in years. Burrow threw for 393 yards and 3 touchdowns. LSU won 46-41. By the end of the regular season, the numbers were absurd. SEC record 5,671 passing yards. NCAA record 60 passing touchdowns. SEC record 76.3% completion percentage. A 202.0 passer rating. December 14, 2019. Joe Burrow won the Heisman Trophy by the largest margin in history, 1,846 points over runner-up Jalen Hurts. He received 90.7% of possible points, the highest percentage ever. But it was his speech that became legendary. Fighting back tears, Burrow spoke about the poverty in his hometown, the kids who didn't have enough food. Within hours, over $450,000 poured into Athens County food banks. Chapter 5: The Championship Run. December 28, 2019, 4th-ranked Oklahoma in the Peach Bowl semifinals. Burrow threw 7 touchdowns in the first half alone, an NCAA record. Final stats: 493 passing yards, 7 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. LSU 63, Oklahoma 28. It wasn't a game, it was a coronation. January 13th, 2020. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, just 80 miles from LSU's campus. The Tigers faced 3rd-ranked Clemson, the defending national champions led by Trevor Lawrence. Clemson led 17-7 early in the game. It didn't matter. Burrow threw for 463 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was hit delivering a touchdown pass just before halftime, clearly in pain from the shot to his ribs, but came back in the second half and threw 2 more scores. Final score, LSU 42, Clemson 25. Joe Burrow was named Offensive MVP. LSU finished 15-0, demolishing every opponent down the stretch. The kid from Athens, Ohio, the backup who couldn't get on the field at Ohio State, had just put together the greatest season in college football history. 7 ranked opponents defeated. 7 touchdown passes in a half, 60 touchdown passes in a season, and a national championship. Chapter 6. The NFL Journey. April 23, 2020. The Cincinnati Bengals selected Joe Burrow with the first overall pick. He was going back to Ohio, just 2.5 hours from his hometown. The circle was complete. 2020 started promising. Burrow showed flashes of his LSU brilliance. Then, Week 11 against Washington, disaster struck. His knee buckled on a hit. Season over. The critics wondered if he'd ever be the same. Burrow spent the offseason rehabbing, working, preparing. He had been counted out before. He knew how to come back. 2021 was the comeback. Burrow led the NFL with a 70.4% completion percentage. He threw for a franchise record 4,611 yards. In Week 16 against Baltimore, he threw for a career-high 525 yards, the 4th most in NFL history. The Bengals made the playoffs for the first time since 2015. They beat Las Vegas in the wild card, Cincinnati's first playoff win in 31 years. They upset top-seeded Tennessee in the divisional round. Then came the AFC Championship. Down 21-3 to Kansas City, Burrow led an 18-point comeback in the second half and overtime. The Bengals won 27-24. Joe Burrow was going to the Super Bowl in just his second season. Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. Burrow threw for 263 yards and a touchdown but was sacked 7 times. The Bengals lost to the Rams 23-20. Despite the loss, Burrow had arrived. 2022, another strong season, another AFC Championship appearance. This time they lost to Kansas City again, 23-20. September 2023, Burrow signed a 5-year, $275 million extension, the largest contract in NFL history at the time. The kid from Athens was now the highest-paid player in football. 2024. Despite the Bengals missing the playoffs, Burrow led the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns, posting one of the best statistical seasons by a quarterback in NFL history. Through 5 seasons, Burrow has thrown for over 19,000 yards and 140 touchdowns. He's made 2 Pro Bowls, led Cincinnati to 2 AFC championships and a Super Bowl appearance. He's won NFL Comeback Player of the Year twice. The legend continues. From backup quarterback sitting on the bench at Ohio State to Heisman Trophy winner to Super Bowl quarterback, Joe Burrow's story is the ultimate example of betting on yourself. His hometown renamed their football stadium after him. His Heisman speech raised hundreds of thousands for food banks. He brought a Super Bowl appearance to a franchise that hadn't been there in 33 years. At 28 years old, Joe Burrow is in his prime. He's already one of the most accurate passers in NFL history, with a 68.6% career completion percentage, the highest ever for a quarterback with his number of attempts. With weapons like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, his best football might still be ahead of him. But what makes Burrow's story special isn't just the stats or the wins. It's the journey. The kid who had to beg for exposure. The backup who refused to quit. The transfer who rewrote record books. The quarterback who turned a franchise around. Joe Burrow proved that talent alone isn't enough. You need belief, work ethic, and the courage to take a chance on yourself when nobody else will. He left Ohio State, and it was the best decision he ever made. The rise isn't over. The legend is still being written. What's your favorite moment from Joe Burrow's incredible journey, from his Heisman speech to his playoff performances to his historic LSU season? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story about one of football's greatest comebacks, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the players, teams, and moments that define college football.